nailed it. That was a good
Well
one.
done, yeah.
This one, yeah. Hello.
Hopefully we're live.
Yep. So when I came into this room, I'd never played a ukulele strings like that, single notes. That was 5 minutes ago. So that shows that can be done.
Perfect.
It doesn't sit.
Yeah.
To be fair, that's the first time I've played it with no wrong notes in it.
Very good.
It was
I was
very
very
good. I'm
impressed.
really big. That's my go now.
It just felt weird sitting here in the sun playing Jingle Bells,
but it is November.
Yes, yeah.
So, hello and welcome to the Education on Fire podcast network, and this is our ukulele live video based on Christmas. And hopefully, you may have been here during the summer when we did our sort of beginner ukulele live sessions. And if you haven't looked at those, if you go to the Education on Fire blog, they're all of the live ones that we did there. They're all there for you to watch again. But we thought it'd be nice for us to do a Christmas related one that you could join in. And the one thing I'm very aware of is that I know that some of you are teachers and people doing these things in schools. Some of you are ukulele pros almost, who follow Paul and really like playing and everything. So what we thought we'd do today is we're going to do this live video with Jingle Bells, and Paul's got a tab and some music and all of that kind of thing. If you haven't got this and you're not part of the Primary Music on Fire membership, where we've got a lot of this material, then drop me an email at mark@educationonfire.com and I'll send you a link where you can download this stuff so that you can hear it, watch it today, and then go away and do that. And the whole point of this really was either if you are in school and you want to do this in some form or another with your pupils or for your Christmas production, you can do that. And we're going to do another couple of videos which won't be live after this, which you can actually get hold of as well with inside the membership too. So we wanted to give you some options to be able to do that. And I think the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, which is the second one we're going to do for one of those non-live videos, is a bit more advanced, isn't it?
That's right.
So I hope that all makes sense. Just email mark@educationonfire.com and we'll send you, as I said, links to these and Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. There's also a couple of MP3s as well.
That's right,
you can do as well. And also, if you're not part of the membership and you actually want these extra videos that we're going to do, just email me again and I'll send you links and all the details that we can do for that for you. So we'll hand you over to Paul. And he'll take us through. Karen and I haven't seen any of this at all yet. We wanted it to be a little bit like it will be for you. What are we doing? How are we going to try and put it together? What's the outcome? And there's lots of things here that we've never seen or recognised. So this is going to be great.
But you have been practicing hard since I saw you last
time.
I
practiced for 2 or 3 hours a day, generally speaking, since the summer. Yeah.
Excellent. So what we're going to do today, Jingle Bells, it's a simple version that we're going to do today. It's just the chords that we're doing today. Then, as Mark said, in the follow-up video, we're going to do the melody or the tune for Jingle Bells. And then you can put the two together. So I think what we'll start off by doing, I'll play it through chord-wise, and Carol's very kindly offered to sing it because she don't want to hear me sing. And so we'll demonstrate. We'll demonstrate what it should sound like with me playing the chords and Carol singing. So after 4, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Jingle bells, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride on a one-horse open sleigh. Hey, jingle bells, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride one-horse open sleigh.
Okay, perfect. So, first things first, we've already tuned our ukuleles, so we're not going to spend time on that, but if you just check that you're in tune, either using an app, there's plenty of free apps online that you can get on your phone, or you can use an electronic tuner like this. I'm just going to run through a couple of things. Remember your strings, G, C, E, A. The best way to remember that, good children eat apples. Okay, when you're holding your ukulele, if you put it on your right thigh, and then you want the head of the ukulele at about sort of pointing at 2 o'clock, 12, 1, 2. Okay, and hold your ukulele so it doesn't move around too much. In addition to that, our thumb moves along the neck, so we don't want to be holding it too tight because we need to be able to move around a fair bit. Now, as I said, this is chord based first off. After we've done the chords in the next lesson, we're going to learn the melody or the tune. The melody goes like this. And that can go over the top of the chords that we are about to learn. So, what is a chord? Chord is a group of 3 notes or more together. On a ukulele, we tend to strum either with our fingers or our thumb, or some of you will be using a plectrum or a little pick, which is just a little bit of plastic. I don't have one to hand. You can use that as well, but feel free, whatever you're comfortable with, be that your thumb, your fingers, or your pick. Do either of you guys want to use a pick?
No,
You're happy with your fingers? Okay, fantastic. Jingle Bells is in 4/4 time. We discussed that last time. Hopefully you can remember what it means. It just means there's 4 crotchet beats per bar. Now on the tab that you can get off of Mark Education on Fire for free, it doesn't actually say 4/4, it says C. And that's, you don't see that so much now. It means common time. It sort of fell from grace a little bit, didn't it?
Originally,
really?
all of the instructions at the beginning of a music, if you imagine, several hundred years ago when, you likes of Mozart were writing, they had to write every single line.
Yeah.
And they, as I explained to them, they couldn't be bothered to write 4/4 on every line.
Right.
So C became, it's a common time.
Perfect.
Just do a C at the beginning, and that's a much easier symbol to do. So you see lots of things like crotchet rests and stuff as well have come. They were just a squiggle.
Yeah.
But we've given them some beautiful structure now.
Yes,
but actually, it's just if you think about it, writing with a quill and ink was quite laborious, really.
Yes, which I do all the time. So yeah, it's in 4/4. So you've got those 4 crotchet beats per bar. Jingle Bells has 4 chords in it, some of which you all know, and I think there's one new one that you may not, and that's the first one that we're going to start with. Okay, we're going to learn the first chord, which is F major. If you take your second finger on your fretting hand, I'm going to say left hand, I'm going to, for the purpose of this, assume people are right-handed. If you take your second finger, and you're going to place it on the 2nd fret of the string closest to you, which we know is G, from good children eat apples. So my second finger is on the second
your middle
fret.
Finger. If you're a piano player, it's finger 3.
Yes, definitely. Yes, yeah. So yes, your middle finger. Your next string is open, so we're not fretting anything. Then on your 3rd string, which we know is the E, we're putting our finger on the 1st fret, and it's our 1st finger, like
Point
that.
On your index.
Yeah. Your index, indeed. If you look at the sheet music that Mark can send you, or if you have it in front of you, the chord box explains that.
It does.
Which is great, so it's actually quite easy to read. Your top A string is then open. Now, because this is in 4/4, we're going to be strumming 2 strums per bar. Each strum is going to last 2 beats. Can anyone remember what that's called? It's called a minute. So it's 1, 2, 1, 2, like that. So first off, if you'd be kind enough to sing, because I don't want to put these people through my voice, I'll count in 1, 2, 3, 4, and it'll be jingle bells, like that for the first bar. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Jingle bells, jingle bells.
Perfect. The next bar has 1 chord as well, and it's the same chord. It's the F chord. So again, you're going to be strumming twice in both bars. So if we all give that a go, I'll count us in after 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Jingle all the way.
Perfect. Let's try both of the first 2 bars together. So we'll go from the beginning to here, and it's all on an F chord. You should end up with 4 strums. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Jingle bells, jingle bells, jingle all the way.
Perfect. Now you'll notice in bar 3 there are 2 chords, so this is a little bit more complicated. Your first chord is a C7. I don't know if anyone can remember from the last lessons that we did that 7th chords sound quite jazzy, so it's going to sound a little bit jazzy, this chord. C7's a relatively easy chord. If you look at the chord box, you can see your first 3 strings, G, C and E, are all open, so we don't need to do anything. You're then going to take your first finger, your index finger, and you're going to place that on the first fret of the string furthest away from you, or the string closest to the floor, or the A string as we know it. So you will end up with just 1 finger on, that's all. And it should sound like that. Should we check we're sounding good? Perfect. So we should be able to get up to now halfway through the 3rd bar. You're just going to strum the C7 once, okay? So we'll go from the beginning, you'll be going F, F, C7.
So you're just moving your index finger down.
Correct.
Down that one.
Yeah,
string.
just
If you
down
rock
one.
that down, that finger will come off automatically, won't
You
it?
can
So then
sort
rock
of
it back
roll
on.
it, yeah. And the knack to it, you've hit a good point there, the knack to it, when you move, we want as little movement as possible. What we don't want is whoop, like that.
Yeah.
So as Carol correctly pointed out, you can almost roll to it and this one comes off. Keep your fingers as close to the fretboard as possible. That's really important, and it's just down strums. So we're going up to 1 strum on the C7 from the beginning. After 4, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Jingle bells, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is.
Perfect.
Too right.
And I've got to thank Carol for singing as well, because she's recovering from flu
Yeah,
recently.
this is not good.
But she still has a much better voice than me without flu.
And I'm not commenting.
Actually, it's quite hard because it's in F. It's perfect position actually for primary school children.
Yeah, yeah. So after C7, we're then back to F. Okay, so to remind ourselves of the F, it's 2, 0, 1, 0. Okay, so it will be 2 strums on F, 2 strums on F, 1 on C7, and then back to F. And that will take us all the way to Oh What Fun It Is to Ride on A. Let's give that a go. After 4.
So this is from the beginning.
From the beginning.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Jingle bells, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride on a
Perfect.
dot.
That stopped you in your prime there. Now, the next chord you'll see is a G7. So this is bar 4 that we're in now. G7, again, the 7 sounds quite jazzy. I would say this is the hardest chord. Yes, the hardest chord to get to, although I do have some good news in a minute. Let's go through the chord. If you look at the chord box, your first string, the G, completely open. You're then going to place your second finger, your middle finger, on the 2nd fret of the C string. You're then going to place your first finger on the 1st fret of the E string. And finally, this is the difficult bit, your 3rd finger is going on the 2nd fret of the A string, the string furthest away from you. So it's parallel to your 2nd finger. You end up, it's like an arrow pointing up the ukulele, so it'll look like that. It's not too bad to do initially like that, but when you have to move between chords, it is quite tricky. However, you will notice, coming from the F, which is the one before, our first finger doesn't need to move. So the quick way to go from F to G7, your first finger remains where it is, move your 2nd finger over, same fret to the next string, and then you've got the difficulty of adding your 3rd finger at the 2nd fret. Okay, so let's all just try a G7 on its own first. After 4, we're just going to strum a G7. 1, 2, 3, 4. Perfect. Let's try going between an F and a G7. And remember, your first finger here is not moving. That's quite hard to do. Okay, so I'll count 4 and we'll strum an F and then a G7. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. To begin with, that is quite tricky. G7 in music occurs quite a lot, especially in ukulele songs for some reason, even though it's quite hard. So we should be able to get all the way up to 1 pause. Okay, so let's try. We're going to go halfway through bar 4 from the beginning. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Jingle bells, jingle bells, jingle all the way.
C7.
Oh, what fun it is to
G7.
ride a one-horse open.
Brilliant.
I got to the C7 too quickly.
Oh, okay.
That's completely my fault. That sounded a bit strange.
Now, the one after that, so we've just played the G7 in bar 4, is a C, which generally is the first chord that you learn on a ukulele. It's nice and easy. It's a 1-fingered chord. Your first 3 strings, the 3 closest to you, you don't need to do anything with. Your 3rd finger is then placed on the 3rd fret of the string furthest away from you. And that is a C
Nice
major.
from the G7 as well, actually, because like your fingers go unrelaxed.
Yeah, it's a good point, because actually after the G7 there's a little cheeky way that we can do to get from the G7 to the C. This is the G7, the arrow pointing up the ukulele. To get to the C, I'm going to lift these 2 fingers up, fingers 1 and 2, and finger 3 slides up. Okay, we want always to do the minimal movement we can. We don't want to be sort of lifting things off, having them up here and then plonking them back down. Try and keep your fingers as close to the fretboard as you can. Okay, so we've got quite a lot going on now. We're going to have 2 Fs, another 2 Fs, C7, F, G7, C, and hopefully you're following this at home. Shall we give it a go from the beginning? 1, 2, 3, 4.
Jingle bells, jingle bells, jingle all the way.
C7,
Oh, what
F,
fun it is to
G7,
ride a one-horse
F, C.
open sleigh. Hey.
Brilliant, well done. Really good. How's that for you guys so
Yeah,
far?
that's right.
Yeah, it's just trying not to panic between the chords when you've got more movement to do.
Yeah.
So it was we hadn't sort of practiced between going between
Yeah.
the C7 and the F, and so we. Is that right? We didn't.
Yeah, you're right. You're
So
absolutely right.
that
yeah.
I was suddenly thinking, oh, that's suddenly new.
Yeah.
And,
And any time you learn something like that, you do have to sit down for 5
absolutely.
minutes, don't
Yeah,
you,
yeah,
and just
yeah.
switch between
Yeah.
the C to
Yeah.
C7 would be nice to sit and do that.
Yeah.
But you really don't want to see us doing that.
No,
That's,
Exactly.
Because Mark really never has done this before.
he hasn't.
and,
He hasn't
he's-
had my
he's-
5 minutes.
He's
so.
doing very well.
Yeah.
Okay, let's have a look at bar 5 now. Bar 5 is exactly the same as bar 1. It's just an F, and you're going to strum it twice. Okay. The difficulty is getting there from a C. So you're going to have to lift your finger off, and then place the 2 down for the F.
Oh yeah, but
which
when we
is-
did that C, my fingers kind of went relax and start again.
It is
They quite
nice
like
after
that.
the G7,
Yeah,
isn't
yeah.
it? So basically bars 5 and 6 are exactly the same as bars 1 and 2. So we should, in theory, be able to get to bar 6 now. Let's give it a go from the beginning. You okay to sing?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Jingle bells, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride a one-horse open sleigh. Hey, jingle bells, jingle bells, jingle all the way.
Perfect, really good. The penultimate bar, which is bar 7, is the same as bar 3. You've got C7 to F. Okay, and again 2 beats on each. 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, your final bar is then C and F. Okay, so nice and slow. Remember, you're doing 2 down strums. Try and keep your fingers as close to the fretboard as you can. Take your time. When you go to the G7, keep your finger down. When you go to the C, slide your finger up. I appreciate that is quite tricky to begin with. So, we're good for the whole thing.
We are.
We are good for the
We've
whole
got this.
thing. We've got it. After 4. 1, 2, 3, That was not
just
bad
amazing,
at
wasn't it?
all.
So musically, what I would say about that as well, I would be asking the children, what can you tell me is the same about, if you start with the Jingle Bells parts, between the first Jingle Bells, jingle all the way, oh fun it is to ride in one horse open sleigh, what's the difference between that and the second part
Yeah.
of it? And ask them about the structure. And you should be hearing we do the same thing twice, but with a tiny change at the end. Why did we change the end? Why did we put a different chord on the end? Because it sounds finished.
Yeah.
And when we sang One Horse Open Sleigh, hey, it didn't sound finished.
Yeah.
So, you know, you have to
Yeah, and it
change it a
sounds
little bit.
resolved when it goes back to the F, doesn't
and if
it?
you've got
So-
a musician in the class and you have said they're playing it in F, you've ended on an F, or you are ending on your home note, they perhaps would understand that.
Yeah, yeah, it's
So
a good
bringing
point
those
there.
musical questions in. But yes, you can't end both sections on the same way because
Yeah.
it doesn't sound finished.
Yeah, it doesn't say. Yeah, you know that it's going to carry on when you're on that
And those
C.
are those deeper questions that you're wanting your children to come
Yeah.
back at.
So that's it in its basic form. We're going to try it once more, and then I'm going to quickly discuss a couple of other strumming patterns that you can do to make it sound a bit more cheerful. And then I'll discuss the melody which we're going to do in the next lesson. That's when it starts to sound really, really good. So let's try it in its basic form once more, exactly as it was. After 4, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride a one-horse open sleigh. Hey, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride a one-horse open sleigh.
Really good. Well done. So we are strumming twice in each bar. We're in 4/4. So the next thing to do would be to try 4 strums in a bar. As in jingle bells. I'm going to do 8 there. Jingle bells, like that. You can do as many strums as you want. I mean, in an ideal world, you'd want to end up with like that, because it's quite a cheery piece. So you might even want 16ths. You might just want down, up, like that. Jingle bells, jingle bells. Okay, so what we'll do, if you two stick with the
Yep.
and I'll try and do a little bit more cheerful strumming. Okay, so after 4, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride on a one-horse open sleigh. Hey, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride a one-horse open sleigh.
Fantastic.
That sounded good, didn't
That
it?
did sound pretty good.
And you could put somebody on the sleigh bells as well, couldn't you?
Yes.
In which case, go to your other
Exactly. If you
video
go to the
of
blog,
how to play
there's
the
how to
sleigh
play the sleigh bells
bells.
on the blog. We did a whole series of learning percussion instruments from your percussion trolley and your percussion box. So yeah, go and check that out as well. It's all on educationonfire.com/blog, and it will take you there. And but that's the great thing about having the membership, is it's those sorts of questions that people can ask. How do we put this together?
Yeah.
You know, can we take some chords out? We've got some
Yeah.
children that can, some children that can't, and that's always the point of a membership, is just to be able to kind of encourage you and support you in how you might put that if you've got other questions that come back. So.
Yeah, because I mean, it's a fairly simple song. You, like Mark says, there's sort of more complicated things you can do. You can sort of make the strum pattern more complicated. The C7 can be replaced with a B flat if you want. That sounds nice, but it's a fairly tricky chord. Now, what we're going to do in the next lesson, but I'll touch on it briefly. In fact, we could give it a quick go because you've mastered the chords so well. If you've got the tab in front of you, the melody is the tune that we sing. And what we're going to teach you in the next lesson is how to play that melody so you can do half of the class on melody and then half of the class on the chords. So let's give it a go. If I play the melody, if you two stick to the chords, this is what it should sound like. We've not done this before, so we'll see. After 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. note. And that melody can be played on a ukulele, or obviously it can be played on a piano, recorder, any instrument. But in the next lesson, we're going to demonstrate how to do that. And then you can put the two together and it should sound really good. Fantastic. And then there's one final lesson after that, where we're going to do Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer as an ensemble. So half will be doing the melody, half will be doing chords, but it's mixed up a little bit. Okay, well done. You did really well.
Lovely, thank you very much.
You're most welcome.
Good job. So hopefully it's starting to feel Christmassy. And like we said, the whole point of this is to give you some ideas and to be able to then you can adapt it depending on what you're doing. It may well be that you're singing this as part of your choir and you just got a few people who play ukulele, maybe part of the club, maybe it's part of your lessons, and you can add some of this into it. And it's just sort of whatever works for you as best you can in school. If you're learning it at home, then you can learn the whole thing just as we've been doing it now. And as you know, if you're one of Paul's experts who's following what's going on, then of course please send us some videos of you doing all the different strumming patterns and everything together, because that would be great to see as well. But we just thought it would be a good thing to be able to do, following on from what we did in the summer. And the end game of this, excuse me, is obviously to support you for doing it in schools. But if you're not involved in schools, but you wanted to learn it as well, we're going to have like a community get-together, which is going to be on the 15th of December. It's at 2:30, and we're going to go live around 2:30 on the 15th of December. And we thought we'll just have a sort of a Christmas get-together. It'll be education on fire, people who listen to the podcast, people involved in the membership, everyone coming together, and there'll be all sorts of festive things going on, I'm sure. But what we'll do is the main focus is that if you've been learning this, we can actually spend some time doing this one, and also people, if they wanted to do Rudolph as well, see if we can play the two things together, just to sort of, just as a nice get-together to finish off the year and have a bit of festive fun. So
great.
So, yes, we're going to go away and record these slightly more in-depth videos for you. Another one of Jingle Bells and Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. If you haven't got the tab, do email me. If you do mark@educationonfile.com, I will send you the link where you can go and download those. We're going to have these other two videos in the membership, so you can get involved in that as well. If you want to know any of those things, do just email me, mark@educationonfile.com, and I will send you all those details, all the links and all the things that you need to know to get involved. So thanks very much for watching. And would you like to play a little bit of something to play us out with, and then I shall go.
Well, shall we sing everybody out? If you sing,
yeah,
I'll
why don't you do
it.
that, and I shall leave you to do it as a duet while we finish off.
What are you doing?
I'll do the strumming. You can either do the singing or the picking or
I'm
both.
just going to do all that. Yeah.
All of it.
I'm going to do all
1, 2, 3, 4.
Jingle bells, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride on one-horse open sleigh. Jingle bells, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride on one-horse open sleigh.
Fantastic, well done.